New knife day. Holy moly, a USA made knife. This is the Paragon Dredd Lock, made in America. It has a patent. And one of the cool things about this knife is that it's not like a OTF, like a Microtech where you just push a button and it pops out. It's not like a OTF. It's not like a folding knife, like something where you just flip it open, right? It's nothing like that. It has a new opening mechanism that I've never seen before, and I love knives. I've been collecting knives since 2016, which just makes it very, very cool. Now I'm going to try to open it for you, okay? The way you open this knife is not by pushing this button or pushing this button. You got to push it together, and when you push it, the sleeves open up, and this is a gravity knife. So once you hit the button, there you go, okay? Now you can do a lot faster, but just a slow demonstration, you hit the button, it opens up, the knife will fall off, and then you just flick your hand and it locks out, okay? Now, this is a really cool knife. I really like the opening mechanism. It's really, really nice, okay? It took me a couple of hours to figure out how to use it correctly, because in the box there was no instructions. And again, this is an open box, first impression. I haven't carried this knife. I only had it for 2 days. I can't give you a long-term review, but in the 2 days that I have had it, I have fidgeted with it, and I can give you an honest review. Now, the disclaimer is that I bought this knife with my own money. This is not a factory lend me down. This is not a knife dealer, let me borrow this knife. This is not a reviewer sending me this knife. I actually forked over the money. This cost me about $325 to buy this knife, okay? This is not a flipper, this is not a OTF, this is a gravity knife, okay? Now, one of the main reasons that I bought this knife is because I've never seen a knife like this before, okay? The other reason I bought this knife is because the way it opens up, and I thought it was pretty cool. Now, this is, again, the Paragon Dredd Lock. They have 2 other models, but I got this one because I like Tanto blades, okay? And this is Tanto. Now, I wanted to get one that didn't look like this color, but they were all sold out, and that was the only bad thing. Now, the coolest thing about this knife is that, you know, if you leave it somewhere, you know, you don't have to worry about like someone opening it up and cutting themselves, because more than likely they're not going to know how to open it up. So if you have kids around, or if you're at a job site and you just leave your knife on the ground for a second to go get something, you don't have to worry about someone just, you know, hurting themselves, because it takes a while to learn how to flip it, okay? Now, it's kind of hard to flip it when you get your camera in your hand, but it's actually more faster in deployment than my Microtech, okay? Way faster, especially when it's out of my pocket and I'm pulling it out. It does take some time to train your muscles to deploy this knife, okay? It does take a while. Like I just did it with my left hand. I don't have that much practice, so it does take a little while to deploy it. But once you do, then it's smooth as butter. Now, one of the things with this knife is that when I first got it, it didn't want to flick open, right? There's like paint on the blade that would get stuck on here. So the very first thing I did is when I got the knife is I just grabbed it here and I went back and forth like 20, 30 times to loosen it up, okay? Once it got loosened up, then it was perfectly. And I also did this like about 20 times, because when I first got it, the spring, if I can say it, it was very, very tough, okay? I had to do it a couple of times to loosen it up. And the more I did this, and the more I went up and down, the better the knife became in opening it up, okay? Again, it's kind of hard to open it this way, because reality is that whenever you have the knife in your hand, you're pulling it out this way from your pocket, because it's tip up. So when you pull it up out of your pocket and you push this, the knife will instantly fall out, okay? Which makes it a great deployment knife. Now, this knife has some wood drawbacks, okay? One of the first wood drawbacks for me was that the blade wasn't sharp enough, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't like crispy, hair-popping sharp. Like, for example, any knife that I buy from Microtech, for example, the Halo, right? It's super sharp. I mean, like, I can go here and I can, you know, take my hair off my skin. Look at how nice that is. Now, this Paragon knife doesn't work like that. Now, I usually don't sharpen knives, but I had to sharpen this knife, and it's still not sharp to take my hair off, okay? You can see right there, just maybe like one or two. It's just wasn't sharp enough. Came out of the box. I mean, it'll cut it a little bit, but not as great as a Microtech. So that's my only beef with this knife. I should say is that it wasn't, you know, popping sharp. Okay, and it was kind of disappointment because this is a made in America knife. You're using amazing super steel components, but to not have it razor sharp was a little disappointing. Now it is sharp. I can slice papers with it and stuff like that, but it wasn't as sharp as my Microtech. It came out of the box as sharp as a Benchmade. If you ever had Benchmade, they're sharp, but they're not gonna, you know, take off hair off your skin. Okay. Now that was the only negative thing about the Paragon Dredd Lock, was that it wasn't sharp enough. Besides that, I'm really digging this knife. Okay, one of the first reasons I like this knife is, I don't know if you can notice, this is a Tanto blade, and you have a straight edge at the bottom, and at the top you have serration. I've never seen that before. For example, if you get like an average Microtech knife, you may have all through serration, or you may have partial serration, which means half of it is serration, the rest is straight edge. Okay, but I've never seen a knife that used both sides of the steel. One is straight and the other top is serration, which is perfect because, like, if you're cutting rope or something, you know, you just put that rope on top and just pull it up, right? And also it's awesome because you have both edges. You know, you can use the bottom one as straight. You're not sacrificing with half of it being serration. Okay, the very top tip of it is straight and then serration. So this is one of the coolest things that I've seen in a knife, because you're really capitalizing the real estate of the steel. Okay, versus shoving everything into the, you know, the blade at the bottom. You have a dual purpose knife where you have serration at the top with straight edge at the bottom. Okay, now that's one of the coolest things about the knife. The other cool thing is how it flips open, which is amazing. I really like it. It's, you know, it's really fidgety, very playful. It's kind of like almost a toy. Like, you know, if I'm working on my computer and I'm doing hardcore thinking, instead of squeezing a ball, I can just go ahead and just flick this back and forth, you know. Okay. Again, it's a little slower because I don't have my full hand, and usually when you deploy this knife, again, it's going to be facing down because the way the pocket clip is, and then when you pull it, boom, the gravity is already pulling the knife down. All you got to do is just push this little button. Okay. Now, the knife is totally different than other knives because once you deploy it, you can see that there is a little movement in here. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay. So it's maybe a little flimsy, but once you get it into the hand, it's a solid knife. Okay. The other thing is that when you deploy it, there is play in here if you're not holding on to it. Like, if you're not holding on to it and you push it just tab up and down, there's a little play. But once you grab the knife like the way it's supposed to be, there's like absolutely no play. Very, very tiny. Okay, and it depends where you hold the knife. Okay. If you hold it right in the middle, there's hardly, the further you go down, there's a little bit more play, but right in the center where you're supposed to hold it, there's hardly any play, like so little, versus, for example, a OTF Microtech. Notice that? Let me grab this. Like very little. I'm like janking on this really hard. Okay, it's moving my hand. Okay, but if I just barely tap on it like I did with the Microtech, there's hardly any play in it. Okay, which makes it a very solid lockout knife. Okay. I personally, I'm going to carry this knife for every day. I'm going to use this for, you know, cutting my kids' apples, guacamole, oranges, pomegranate, you know, all the stuff that I can't do with my Microtech, because, you know, when you have juices going into this, it freezes the knife. You know, it doesn't allow it to pop up that easily. Okay, so I bought this knife for everyday carry. I bought it to use it. It is a big knife. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not a small knife. For example, if you look, for example, with this Wii knife, you can see like how big this sucker is. Okay, if you look at a Microtech Ultra Tech, okay, you can see how big this is. Okay, I mean, look at the amount of steel you get with the Paragon Dredd Lock versus the Ultra Tech. All right. If you look at, for example, a Benchmade Bug Out, so you can take a quick look at the size comparison. This is a pretty big knife. Let me go ahead and get my combat Treaton real quick, so you quickly take a look at it. This is my combat Treaton, and you know it's pretty much the same size of a combat Treaton, maybe a tad bigger. I mean, you're definitely getting more steel on the blade, but the length and overall very, very similar. But I think that the Paragon Dredd Lock is a little on the bigger side. Now, this Paragon Dredd Lock, it is a heavier knife. You know, I would say it's about, you know, compared to the Microtech Combat Treaton, I would say, you know, it's a couple of ounces heavier, okay? But not too heavy where it's like dragging your pants down, right? But, you know, it's not as light as an Ultratech, right? I mean, Ultratech is like super, super light, which makes it a great EDC. I think this is a great EDC knife too, because, you know, the way you can flick it out, it's pretty nice, okay? And you don't have to worry about things getting clogged up in here. Like, you know, if you're cutting fruits and stuff, it gets a little sticky, just wash it out and it's easy to clean versus one of these Microtech Combat or Microtech Treaton, or Ultratech or Halo or something like that. Okay. Now, one of the funniest things is this little jimping part here. It looks like a rattlesnake, and at first I was like, oh, this is kind of stupid, but when I have it in my pocket, it really, you know, it's really nice to be able to just pull it from here. Now, I like to like reach deep and pull it out, but you know, for self-defense situations, but in a non-self-defense situation, I just pull from my hair. It really grips real good and comes out. Now, the only thing with this as a self-defense is that whenever you grab it from your pocket and you pull out, you have to readjust because my fingers are not right on the trigger, okay, or the button, the trigger button, okay. So when I pull it out, let's say I you know, stick my hand all the way in there and I pull it out, I'm still here. I have to readjust to get to the trigger mechanism to allow the knife to open up, okay. One of the other things I really like about this knife is that the sound that it makes. It sounds like aliens. And it's cool, it just sounds cool. It reminds me of like a butterfly knife, you know? And once, again, you do it, you'll get used to it. You really don't want to grab it really hard whenever you're pushing the button because, you know, the way it works is the hinges here, unlike other knives that have hinges here and hinges here, so the whole knife will open up. Look at that. Right, the whole knife will open up whenever you push it. So if you're grabbing it and you're pushing it, it won't open up. So the best thing is to like grab it like this and then push it open, or grab it with this other finger and push it open, and basically use the gravity. I mean, it is a gravity knife. I'm not gonna pop it open with my hand horizontally. It's gonna be like a vertical and then horizontal situation, but I'm just doing it here so you can see because I don't have the knife vertically. So I love the way it sounds. I love the way it opens up. I really like how they use the real estate of the blade to have multi-purpose versus having it all stuck at the very bottom. I've never seen this on any other knives, okay? The other thing about this knife is it's made in America. They actually have a patent on this, which is amazing, because it's a really, really, really cool, fun knife. Now, some people said this is like a toy, or this is like a, you know, like a novelty a knife. I gotta disagree with that. This is the real deal. It feels solid. I feel like I can do some massive work with it. If it's cutting stuff, if it's, you know, opening boxes, if it's opening fruits, if it's, you know, cutting something on my bike that got stuck in the tires or something, or in a self-defense situation, okay? So either way, I think this is a really nice knife, and as you can see, like on my left hand, I haven't practiced with it, so I'm having a harder time to open it. The other frustrating thing with this knife is when you first get it, you're gonna have to learn how to use it because, you know, it's just like anything that you use new, you're not gonna be able to be excellent at it. It's not like a flipper that you just flip and it opens up, okay? It actually takes practice to learn that motor behavior for your fingers and your muscles and your brains to communicate with each other, okay? The more you practice, the better you will become, you know? with it, okay? So I would say about 2 or 3 days for you to become an excellent opener of this. But during that time, you're going to be maybe a little frustrated. If it's a brand new knife, remember that the paint will get caught up on here. So the best thing is to just go like this like 20 times when you first get it. Do this about 20 times, and then it'll loosen everything up for you to be able to just flick it really, really fast. Because when I first got it out of the box, it didn't want to flick open no matter what I did to it, because again, too much of a tension. The paint was rubbing against the, I'm assuming the axle where it rotates. So that's why it took a little bit to break in. But once it broke in, it's a very, 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 very nice light knife. I didn't even know about, Nashville steel till I got this knife. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna carry it for a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna do a long-term review on it. I'm gonna definitely put this in my rotation of everyday carry. Again, made in America, amazing technology, really, really cool. Don't like the color that much, but all the ones that I wanted were all sold out, so I decided to go with this one. I bought this from Blade HQ. They shipped it pretty decently. So I have no complaints about this knife. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 9. And the only reason I'm giving it a 9 is because the blade wasn't sharp enough. Like, I don't like to sharpen my knives because I'm not a great sharpener. But I got this blade and I ended up sharpening it because it wasn't like, cutting hair. And if I cut paper, it would tear it, right? But after I went over a couple of times with the stone, it's a lot more sharper, but it's still not hair popping sharp, okay? So that's the only reason I give this knife a 9 versus a 10, because of the quality of the sharpening. But overall, I'm very impressed with this knife. I really like the action on it. I really like how, gravity is working to get this thing open. It is as fast as a Microtech. I would even say this is more faster than the Microtech because of the positioning of the hand. When I pull it out, I just got to swing my position from here to there and then pop it open. Again, I'm pulling out the knife like this, so I just have to readjust, allow it to open up, and then boom, voila. Very, very cool, very, very cool edge, both directions. It is a bigger knife. It is a little on the heavier side. It's not a light knife, but again, this is, a lot of people say this is novelty. This is like a toy or something. And I gotta totally disagree. I think this is a real tool that you can use for everyday EDC, everyday carry. You can use it for a variety of different tasks, from cutting fruits to, construction work to self-defense. And I think that it's awesome. Now, if you have kids and stuff, or, it's awesome because they're not gonna be able to, figure out how to push this button or get the knife out, because if you look at it, the edge doesn't show, okay, in any shape or fashion, right? Very, very cool. And it takes skills. It's not like a flipper where you just push this button and, maybe the knife will deploy if you have assist opening, right? But in this knife, the Paragon, I think, Dreadlock, you got to have the motor skills to be able to deploy it, or it's not going to fire. If I hand this to my brother, he didn't know how to open it. He's just like, he tried to play with it and he tried to push the buttons and, he tried to do all this stuff, but he couldn't figure out how to open it. So that's one of the greatest things. Even if you were, let's say, in a bad situation and the bad guy gets your knife and it's closed up, there's a good chance that he or she is not going to know how to open this knife up to use it against you, where, for example, a knife like this, they'll just flick it open and then take your knife and could use it against you. I think that maybe out of 10 people, maybe one person will know how to use this knife. So let's say something happens, they get a hold of your knife is not deployed, there's a good chance that the bad guy is not going to know how to deploy this knife to use it against you, which is a very positive thing for me, okay? Or if I drop the knife, I'm riding my bicycle, I drop it on the street or something, some kid comes along, he picks it up, and it's gonna be hard for him to like hurt himself versus like something like this, okay? Or something like a Halo 6 where you have a button to push and wham, it comes out, okay? Single action. So in the safety wise, I think it's excellent, okay? I think, the only thing that this knife is lacking is sharpness. I wish it was more sharp because, I like sharp knives. But overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give this a 9. I've only had it for a couple of days. I only carried it inside of my home. I'm gonna carry it every day as a backup knife. This is gonna be my daily user. Okay, I'm a daily beater, I guess. I'm gonna use it to cut all kinds of stuff with it. Okay, but just to do a quick size comparison, this is a Halo 6. Okay, so you can look, that Halo is tremendously big. This is the Trudon, Combat Trudon. So you can take a quick look. This is the Halo side comparison, and this is a Benchmade bug out. Okay, so it is on the bigger side. If you guys don't like bigger knife, then this knife is not for you. If you like bigger knives, this knife may be for you. But overall, I would buy a Paragon knife again. This is my very first knife with them. I haven't put it into years of usage, but I will. And if it holds up, I'll definitely let you guys know, and I'll buy more of these. Okay, the next one I'm thinking about buying is called the Warlock, or if I'm not mistaken, Paragon Warlock or War something. Okay, but this is the one that has the Tanto. The other ones were dagger blades, and I kind of like Tanto blades a lot more than regular. I like the action of it. I like how it opens up really quick, and I think it's a really cool knife to have. So again, this is the Paragon Dredd Lock. There is movement in here, but once you grip the knife, there's like nothing. Okay, so just be wise about that. Just know that this is around. Good pocket clip. It's not bad. When you do put it in your pocket, you will have this much hanging out, like the snake tail sticking out. But there's a lot of purpose to this, to grab it on real quick and pull it out. So I like it, I really like it, I kind of like how there's a cut to it. And notice that it's really fat at the top, and as it goes down, it gets skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, which means like when you put it in your hand, it feels really good. You got the fat part for that meaty part of your hand, and as it goes down, it gets less and less. You do have that little butt, if you want to just break something, and you don't want to use the knife, this could be a great option. Sounds really cool. It's really fast. I really like it. I have no complaints. I'm like, damn, I should have got this knife a couple of years ago, right? It sounds really good, guys. And again, you're not gonna be opening it horizontally. You're gonna be opening it where like this and then like that, okay? But I'm just doing it horizontally because the way that the camera is, okay? So it's gonna be down and then out, okay? And then boom. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, comment, leave it below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you ever imagined roaming. Don't take no for an answer. Much love.